Welcome back to Jedi Enclave presents the Now This Is Podcasting podcast. I am Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And we're two nerds that we're like sommeliers.
Okay.
Like, would you like a nice Star Wars flavored wine?
Oh, I would love Star Wars flavored wine.
Would you like a nice Marvel flavored wine?
I can take a Marvel flavored wine.
Would you like a nice Star Trek flavored wine? No, I'm kidding. Star Trek is all right. Anyway, and if you're wondering, wow, what a ridiculous name. Jedi Enclave presents the Now This Is Podcasting podcast. And I'm actually really proud of myself that I said that correctly twice in a row. I'm getting this fucking down. That's YouTube has a new podcasting feature. And so we have a pod. It doesn't matter. We're live every week. Usually it's on Wednesdays, but for the foreseeable future, it's probably gonna be on Thursdays because I have a gig next week on Wednesday. And then we're going to see Oppenheimer on next Thursday.
Okay.
Or no, 2 weeks. I think Oppenheimer is on the 21st, so it'll be the week after. And
point is, there's a lot of shit going.
Glad you're here. We've got a pretty neat show today. We're going to talk about Star Wars news. We have a Mike Zeroh Lie of the week.
We're going to talk about your absolute favorite director ever, Zack Snyder.
Yeah. And then Marvel SecretInvasion is a thing we're going to talk about. Time codes for each of the topics is in the description of this video if you're watching the full version on our YouTube channel, which is a thing you should check out. We're on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. And before we get started, a thank you to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas, which, by the way, this really funny thing happened today, or was it yesterday at the Star Wars Hub?
I think so.
Where, because Connor at the Star Wars Hub is not only an ally of the LGBT community, but is also a member, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's not really scared of posting stuff. And someone in the comments is like, see, this is why I like Jedi Enclave more, because they stick to Star Wars and they don't, it's not about, like those guys don't think that gay people need a month or a whole month or whatever. And Connor just tagged Jedi Enclave and was like, you want to take this? And it's just like, oh my God, never in my life did I think that someone somewhere in the world would think that we would be the stalwart of anti-gay bullshit, because literally half of this brain trust is very, very gay.
Also, since day one, we've been like loudly and vehemently in favor of gay and trans rights.
Yeah, I don't understand. And look, I go back and forth about whether or not I even want to engage people on this anymore, because you don't really, I mean, in 2023, debates aren't for changing minds. They're for, saying whatever soundbite you heard someone say so you can win an argument so or whatever.
And the libs.
Yeah. And so I don't like to engage people like that. And I was thinking the other day about how weird belief is and how, because you can't choose what you believe.
Okay.
Right. That's just a fact. Knowledge is a subset of belief. So if you have all the things in the universe that are objective facts, and then you have what that shared, like a Venn diagram, like that shared thing in the center would be knowledge, your knowledge anyway, right? And you don't choose what you believe. You're either convinced of something or you're not, right? I can't choose to believe that unicorns are real, right? So like when someone says shit like that, I like, they legitimately believe that, and I try to understand why, and it pisses me off in general. And I start to think about some of the weird, fickle things that influence belief, like your geographical location. It's why, if you're from rural Tennessee, you are more likely to be very conservative, very, very evangelical religious. And if you're from Los Angeles, you are not probably at all, right? And like those things influence what you believe so much. So like when someone says shit like that on social media or whatever, I really want to have a good faith conversation with them and be like, you've been watching our show, or apparently not.
Have you?
Yeah, but like. This whole thing about, shoving gay people in your face or whatever. And it's just like, that's not factually correct. This is not what's happening. And I want to be able to correct the record for stuff like that. But on the other hand, it's like, what's the point?
This is really going to accomplish it.
Yeah. It's, Anyway,
this has been Daniel's Philosophy Corner. So shout outs to that guy, and thanks for watching, I guess.
I like talking about stuff like this. As you might have guessed, I have a little side passion with stuff like that. While you're here, make sure you like the video, subscribe, share. We are on Discord, the link to which is in the description of this video. Right after this, we're going to play Battlefront 2 with our boys from Gremlin Squad, which you've not been around to hang out with for a while. Yeah. So also, this is a live stream, so I'll be reading comments as it kind of makes sense. For example, Rakesh says, this account hiding behind Luke Skywalker, all mad about people liking something post 22. Oh yeah, there's a Facebook group called Grandmaster Luke Skywalker.
Okay.
And posted today that people who enjoy Disney Star Wars do not deserve your love or respect. He said it like unironically, right? And it's just like the dumbest,
it's not that serious.
It's just the dumbest bullshit in the world that, that's the kind of this, that they believe what they believe, and you can't help what you believe, but like you can also believe what you believe and just be a fucking idiot, which that guy clearly is. It's just one of those stupid things. So
let's talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of this. Hold on, let me get my list up. So we're about to wade into like a bunch of fucking Star Wars stuff, and it's coming sooner than you think. Like Ahsoka is next month, and then like kind of throughout there's like different shit happening, and in later this year, probably November to December, Skeleton Crew is coming out.
Okay.
Right. And if you're not sure about that, Skeleton Crew is a streaming show. It's not a film, right?
Yeah. It's Stranger Things, but in Star Wars with Jude Law.
And the Goonies, I think. I
guess.
Created by John Watson, Chris Ford, follows 4 kids who find themselves on an adventure after finding themselves lost in the galaxy, which is
what
cookie cutter plot. But, Star Wars has never been about its very intricate, crazy plot. It's very, very simple. The bad guys are bad. The good guys are good. Mm-hmm. Look, they blew up the space station.
The bad guys are literally Nazis who blew up an innocent planet.
Yeah. And it's like the same story every movie, pretty much, right? So it's going to come out in November or December. They said late 2023. As far as I know, it has not been pushed back because of whatever. So it's apparently still happening. So they've been doing some press for this, right? Chris Ford and Jude Law was on the Dagobah Dispatch, which I think is like an official Lucasfilm like podcast thing or something
like that.
And they're asking him about crossovers with other New Republic characters, because Jon Favreau teased a while ago that there might be some crossover with some of the different properties in their characters and shit. And John Watts said there may or may not be some crossovers. By the way, both of these quotes, these guys, you can tell that their NDA is very ironclad. So they're like, I don't know. It could be.
So the Mouse's lawyers are holding a box cutter to my neck. Yeah. I really can't say anything.
Yep. There may or may not be some crossovers. It's the New Republic era. For us, it was great. It was a great era because as much as the New Republic is trying to bring things back, it's kind of lawless, wild time. So there's a lot of danger. If we had said it earlier, the kids would have probably met the Empire and just got shut down, which means shot in the head. I think.
Yes.
This is more of a galaxy to get lost in. And then, so the crossover thing, I was like, I don't really care if they're crossovers.
Oh my God, Baby Yoda is going to be on fucking Skeleton Crew.
You can't call him Baby Yoda anymore. And this is the problem with that, is that they an entire season went by, we didn't know Grogu's name, and all of us got really used to calling him Baby Yoda. Mm-hmm. And they gave him a name and we're like,
he's Baby Yoda.
I can't remember 2 names. I mean, it's going to be one or the other. And like any of those things could happen, right? And it's fine. Like a Mandalorian could show up, Bo-Katan could show up and sit on someone's face or whatever, and that's fine. I don't really care. What caught my attention about this, or at least got me kind of interested, Jude Law was talking about his character, which Jude Law is a fantastic actor. Mm-hmm. If you've seen any of the new Fantastic Beasts movie, he played young Dumbledore. It was also the bad guy in Captain Marvel.
Yep.
He was I wonder if he'll show up in Marvel Secret Invasion. I just thought
I
of
guess
that.
he's not dead.
He didn't die. No.
Yeah, maybe.
Carol Danvers owned the fuck out of him at the end of that movie, though.
His ass.
So he said, I can't tell you very much about my character, NDA, obviously. He is someone the children meet on their attempt to get home. He is a lot of the world that they experience, contradictory and at times a place of nurture and other times a place of threat, which I think is interesting because from what I understand, he's playing a Jedi who survived Order 66, another one. The idea of, like, it doesn't surprise me that he would play a character that was kind of jaded and not for himself, because I'm sure that if you belong to a religion like that and what happened to the Jedi happened to you, your worldview would be kind of messed up and everything. So I just think it's interesting that he isn't, like, on its face, the archetype, like the real predictable older mentor Ben Kenobi archetype, that he might actually be kind of an asshole, which I think would be really neat. And like, it also kind of connects it to, so we know that, like, in Ahsoka, there are two dark force wielding characters. Yep. And it's interesting to me. I think one of them was a former Jedi as well. I can't remember. It'd be interesting for them to kind of explore this area of former Jedi. They don't have the council or their masters or an organization to help them rein in some of their impulses. And so some of them are going to fall to the dark side. Like the ones that don't get caught by the Inquisitors and turn to the dark side will kind of...
They're going to be organic free range dark side.
Right. And so you're going to start thinking, oh, well, isn't that a great Jedi? And no, it's not, because the Jedi don't exist anymore as an organization. And we've said this before, but they're mutually exclusive. You can be a Jedi or you can use the dark side. You cannot do both, right? Because... you can't just go and murder like 7 people and then go save 7 people and in the end have everything be okay. We know that the dark side is corrosive, and then once you start down that path, it forever dominates your destiny. That's the only thing down the road for you is darkness, right? Mm-hmm. So there is no, like, just dipping your toe in the dark side and then rinsing it off and then doing it again.
There is one, like, Yoda was canonically wrong about that in the case of Vader, because Luke, like, reached out and grabbed him and pulled him back. Yeah, but there wasn't a time where he was both. Right. He was bad until he was good. Mm-hmm. And sure, there is, like, he was conflicted, and despite we know he claimed not to be. But what I'm saying is that, like, the whole, like, gray Jedi thing just isn't, that's not what I'm talking about. The idea of a former Jedi kind of being out for themselves and kind of leaving their religion behind a little bit and just being a dude that has the Force and doesn't like 4 kids, like, and having him being played by Jude Law. I'm fucking here for it. I'm excited for it. So there have been rumors about Star Wars.
Uh-oh.
Shocking, I know. So James Mangold.
Oh, yeah, I read about this. This is cool.
Yeah, he just got done directing Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Yep.
Gave an interview where he said that he was working on an R-rated Boba Fett movie once upon a time, and Lucasfilm just didn't pick it up.
Yeah, this is going to connect to another thing we're going to talk about today about Lucasfilm and R-rated things. I totally get this. Like, Star Wars has always been a kid-centered
entertainment for children.
Yeah. And, like, the idea, if you were to walk up to George Lucas and be like, I have a great idea. Let's do an R-rated Star Wars movie. He'd be like, no.
Get out of my office.
Yeah. Who are you? How'd you get past security? And it's not because it wouldn't be amazing, because it
could be. Very well could be.
Like an R-rated Vader movie.
Oh, that'd be fucking terrifying.
Or like a Deadpool style do with another character that's like R-rated. That would be really neat, but it's just not, like, it's tonally crazy way different, because R-rated doesn't mean that it can be scary, because we know that movies can be scary without having an R rating, right?
It means blood and tits.
Yes, and maybe a little bit of penetration.
Just
depending on where the camera is.
You're permitted like 15 frames of penetration.
I think, well, Game of Thrones is rated mature, I guess. It's like you can just fuck your aunt, but I think that's mature.
Or your sister?
Yeah, I think you can.
Or your cousin? You can fuck a lot.
Well, in Game of Thrones, you mean? Yeah, no, the whole family is gay. Yeah, that's just... Man, I wish I was kidding. And honestly, it makes kind of an interesting story beat for that. But it's, like shit like that doesn't fit in Star Wars, right? I was so surprised in Andor when there was like a little, like kind of a sweaty romance scene between, what's her name?
I know who you're talking about.
Bix?
Yes.
That's his like love interest, right?
Yeah.
That's married to the guy from Space Scotland.
Yeah.
Like they have like a little scene where they take each other's shirts off, like not her shirt, but like that's the first time in Star Wars is like, this is more than just a kiss that C-3PO kind of like interrupts, right? I think the steamiest thing we'd seen before that was Anakin sitting up in bed with Padme without a shirt on.
Yeah.
And she's fucking asleep. And you're like, oh, what were they doing before this? So like,
there's also a scene in Andor in Space Daytona Beach where Andor wakes up and is like,
he's got a prostitute. Yeah. yeah. So like, anything more than that just kind of doesn't belong in Star Wars. I think it would feel really, really kind of weird. So like the idea of now I think it could work because Boba Fett as the central character being the bounty hunter going around, shooting and bringing people in. I think that they probably could have done a version of that wasn't R-rated that might have been better than the Book of Boba Fett. Okay. And I don't hate the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. I like, it's got some tonal problems.
I think it could have looked an awful lot like the first episode of Mandalorian season 1. Like expand that out to feature length.
Yeah. Well, this Mandalorian was supposed to be a Boba Fett story originally. So like that totally makes sense. And yeah, it's the Book of Boba Fett thing is for a different time because I have a lot of complex thoughts about it. And like in the end, at the end I was like, okay, I enjoyed it. It was fine. But I bet that a tough, gritty Boba Fett story would be really neat. And it doesn't necessarily have to be R-rated for it to be really neat, My
last thought on this, James Mangold also directed Logan, which is probably the best X-Men movie since X-Men 1 or 2.
Yeah.
The Bryan Singer ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like imagine
Logan. I saw it in theaters,
yeah.
And I don't even love the X-Men, and I was like,
that's a damn good movie.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Just that kind of tone applied to Star Wars with that level of direction and writing and care put into it.
Yeah,
could be really fucking good.
I agree. Chris says, thank you, Daniel and Chris, for your awesome Star Wars content, and thank you
as always
both for being so positive about Star Wars. I wanted to ask you both, do you think Darth Vader could have taken on Superman if both were evenly matched and both guys could only use their fists?
How do you define evenly matched? Because like Superman is kind of busted,
broken. Yeah, he would be taken out of the game if he was in the game. That's the thing, and it's because they're two different franchises that have never met. We don't understand how certain things behave in that hypothetical matchup. Like, how does the Force interact with, like, is Superman still susceptible to mind tricks?
Is Vader's suit powered by kryptonite?
Right. Can he still force choke him even though he's got like invincible skin? I mean, he could like reach in and squeeze, squeeze his liver or something with the Force.
I think the answer here is results unclear. Try again.
Yeah. And also, weapons in general don't hurt Superman, but weapons in general aren't a lightsaber.
Yeah.
Like there's a lightsaber. What if there was a lightsaber and its crystal was kryptonite?
Oh, that's a good one.
And it would be green.
Yeah.
The fucking Darth Vader with a green lightsaber. Like, fly at me, bitch.
All right.
I think we should write like a fan fiction.
Anyway, what's next?
Yeah. Rakesh says, and Zellens Incorporated, we fixed the broken. Oh, from the Mandalorian season 3. Babu Frick, those guys. This is a short one. Actually, Eckstein, who is kind of a beloved member of the Clone Wars cast.
Yeah,
she's everything I've ever seen her in. Like every time I've ever seen her say anything about anything, she's such a genuinely kind, sweet person. And
which, considering the amount of hate her character got in the early days, must be hard to sustain.
Yeah, which isn't obviously her fault.
Yeah.
And I think she was meant to be a little annoying because she's a kid, and kids are fucking terrible, as we all know. And like she had a glow up, right? And I think people really started loving Ahsoka. And Ashley Eckstein did such a great job bringing that character to life. I don't think anyone was surprised when she wasn't cast as Ahsoka because she's. And this is not the topic here. Is Ashley Eckstein pretty? Because she's beautiful, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But she doesn't look anything like Ahsoka. She obviously sounds just like her, right? But Ahsoka is longer and more angular, and it turns out Rosario Dawson is angular as fuck, right? So like when people are like, Ashley's not going to be Ahsoka, we're like, okay.
I can see it. Yeah.
Now, as opposed to being like Lars Mikkelsen is going to be Thrawn, everyone's like, that makes perfect sense.
Sure,
that translates really well, right? So she was seen on set during Ahsoka production, and fans are just whipping themselves into a frenzy over it because in this, like we're in like a doldrum with Star Wars news where like we haven't had a show in a few weeks and we're all kind of jonesing and getting the shakes and shit, and so like we look at every little thing and see if we can figure it out. And so she answered it and was like, I was invited for a set visit. It was not a cameo. I'm going to set the record straight. Everyone thinks I'm dropping a hint, but unfortunately, I do not have a cameo in the first season. I'm keeping my fingers and toes crossed and throwing my dreams out into the universe that maybe if there's a season 2 or some sort of spin-off that I'll eventually do a cameo, but I did get to visit the set. And I read this and I'm like, you're probably lying because Andrew Garfield is still, he's still in the back of my head being like, in regards to
Spider-Man. Not in the new Spider-Man movie.
In regards to Spider-Man
He's in the last third of the Spider-Man.
Yeah, I did not get a call. It's Photoshopped. The leaked footage is Photoshopped. I'm not in the movie. Liam Neeson, I did not get a call for Obi-Wan. I am not in that show. You're a fucking liar. You were. And so Ashley Eckstein, no offense, not that you'll ever see this, but I'm going to have to not see it to believe it. You
have to go the entire season without you to know for sure.
Yeah. Let's do it's time for Mike Zeroh Lie of the week. Okay. Which is not a weekly thing, but it's like when it's deserved, it pops up.
When it's appropriate.
And so I'm gonna lead you through a little thing here.
Okay. Show me the logic.
Yeah.
The tortured, flawed logic.
We're starting with the fact that Indy 5 has bombed at the box office, in a similar way that The Flash did. However, I enjoyed Indy 5 a lot more.
Yeah.
It was not a terrible movie, but it was not.
It wasn't great, but at least it wasn't aggressively mediocre.
Yeah, it was fine, and it's maybe if I'd be more upset about it if I had really cared about Indiana Jones as a character. But I think that maybe I'm just like a little too young to. I don't know. Star Wars came out in 1977, and I fucking love that. But like I enjoyed it, but there are probably a lot of reasons. I think it barely cleared its $60 million opening weekend, which is bad. Like that's really bad. Like it's probably not going to break even. There's a lot going into this, and for the folks out there saying, it was badly made or blah, 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 blah. You don't understand the climate of theater going experiences. We have not bounced back from pre-COVID theater box office numbers with a couple of rare exceptions. I think Spider-Man and Into the Spider-Verse did well despite the climate. And get this. So The Flash was tracked. They were guessing it was going to make 70 million, right? Like the box office predictions.
This was before it came out.
Yeah, before it came out. They do like a little prediction. They're like, that we track this to make between blah, 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 blah. And I think Indy 5 was about the same, right?
Okay.
Oppenheimer, which we'll see in a couple of weeks, is tracking even a little bit lower, despite the fact that people are kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
like between, I think 40 and 60 million.
Okay.
Guess how much the Barbie movie is tracking at?
100?
80 to 100 million. Apparently people are crazy about the Barbie movie. So anyway, like
Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling.
I know, right? But this is the thing, like there's a lot of shit going into why some of these movies just aren't, even The Flash, I think in pre-COVID movie going culture would have made a lot more than it did. Right. So this of course has given way to another round of Kathleen Kennedy is getting fired because she was the producer for Indy 5, right? And our Mike Zeroh Lie of the Week award, by the way, goes to Tyrone Magnus, which is a YouTube channel that reacts mostly to other people's YouTube videos, but likes his big clip. And this is the thing, I didn't watch the video, and I'm not going to. Because if you're going to be dishonest with the title and you're going to do a clickbait thing, you're going to win the award just based on it. Doesn't like you could have not told a single lie in the video, but having that asinine fucking clickbait title, that'll get you the Mike Zeroh Lie of the Week award, which is that Kathleen Kennedy's getting fired again, which she is.
Like, how many times have we done this song and dance?
Right. Yeah. It happens every couple of weeks. And like, this is the first, I think this is the first film she's produced since Solo: A Star Wars Story. Okay. So, I'm gonna walk you through a couple of facts. Okay. These are facts. Like, and I know that doesn't mean a lot to people anymore. I totally get that. But, so Force Awakens, cost $447 million to make, adjusted for inflation. Guess how much money it made without looking at my thing. You saw it, so go ahead and say it. $2 billion. Yeah, $2 billion. That is an insane profit.
That's a shit ton of money.
Last Jedi, $300 million, made $1 billion. And so Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker didn't make as much because Force Awakens was the first Star Wars movie since 2005.
Of course, yeah.
And everyone was super crazy about it, right? Rise of Skywalker, $400 million budget, made $1 billion. Solo: A Star Wars Story, $275 million budget, made almost $400 million, right? Okay. The only thing Kathleen Kennedy needs to do to keep her job, the only thing that industry cares about, is whether or not in the long run she's made them money. They don't care. She could murder a child, which I'm sure some of you think she has.
She could have lesbian sex with Brie Larson on live TV.
Mike Zeroh, just fucking at home jerking it to that idea. And so you do have to kind of figure in the streaming stuff too. The streaming stuff is harder though, because they don't measure stuff by the same metrics. Yeah. Because they don't like money doesn't go into their hand from someone seeing something in the movie, right? It's more about subscriber surges during the month that show is around, and the fact that like every streaming platform, the way they work is by being in debt, and I don't understand how it works. I don't understand the economics of it. I just know that it's normal. Like Netflix is billions of dollars in debt, but like doing like well, I guess.
Finance.
Yeah. And they sink tons of money into content, and they go into debt, but then like they get tons of subscribers and shit. So like, it's really hard to tell with the Disney Plus stuff, whether or not, cause she's I think a producer on most everything coming out of Star Wars. And it like Mandalorian, for example, probably lost them a little bit of money, but drove all of their subscribers for Disney Plus. So what I'm saying is that like on the streaming stuff, you can't be like, oh, it had an X budget and returned Y box office things.
This is one of the root causes of the writer's strike, by the way.
Yeah. The whole streaming thing.
Yeah. That writers haven't been getting residuals for streaming, and residuals are a big part of how writers make money. Yeah. So the thing about Kathleen Kennedy getting fired, she's not. And the thing that I've said this a whole bunch, but the thing that I'm really worried about is that she's eventually going to retire. Mm-hmm. And then that's when they're going to be like, we were right. She was fired. Yeah. Don't believe the lies. She didn't retire. She was fucking fired. Yeah. Her head is on a pike outside of Disney headquarters.
Now, this is the cool thing about figuring out what is true and what is not. And the fact that when you can make novel, testable predictions, you're doing it right. So when this happens and they're like, oh, she was secretly ousted, we will show this clip, which was months to years earlier, predicting this specific outcome. And then you will know that everyone that made that claim was full of shit. Because otherwise, how would we be able to make that prediction? Right? So good job, Tyrone Magnus, on being a part of the problem. And
congratulations on winning Mike Zeroh Lie of the Week. Yep. Your trophy is in the mail, allegedly.
Yes. And
Zack Snyder.
Yeah.
Your favorite guy.
Yeah. So this is going to come out fairly soon. We're going to watch it because just the weird stuff that's been going around about it. So this is coming out at the end of the year. It's called Rebel Moon. It's
so the story actually starts years and years ago, shortly after Disney acquired Star Wars.
Right. So right after Lucasfilm was sold and Zack Snyder pitched to them an R-rated Star Wars movie.
I guess he had just finished work on Man of Steel.
Man of Steel, right. And so like obviously they were like, no.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars doesn't do R-rated stuff.
Didn't ask, plus get out of my office, right. Plus L, plus ratio.
Yeah. And, go do a Batman or something. So he developed it anyway. He was so married to the idea. So I'm going
to make the fucking Seven Samurai in space, which sounds badass as someone who has seen the Seven Samurai.
Yeah. I think we got drunk and watched that together, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, when you say Seven Samurai in space, you're just describing Star Wars because that's pretty much what it is. So
there isn't the monkey Jedi who jumps around and does all the crazy shit. Yeah. Or that one Jedi who goes out and kills 50 men.
Yeah. But just like, I'll be right back.
Yeah.
So he developed it anyway. He turned in a 170 page script. It was like 3 hours, and Netflix was like,
which I mean, if you've seen the Snyder cut, makes sense.
It makes totally. He probably did it by like what is it, the 3:2 aspect ratio or whatever. So Netflix was like, that's concerning. How about we make 2 movies? And he's like,
are you gonna pay me for 2 movies?
The only thing better, So the premise of it, I mean, you pretty much just said. Like it's about let me read this real quick. In a universe controlled by the corrupt government of the mother world, capitalized, the moon of Velt is threatened by the forces of the Imperium, the army of the mother world controlled by Regent Balissaris. Korra, a former member of the Imperium who seeks redemption for her past in the leadership of the oppressive government, tasks herself to recruit warriors from across the galaxy to make a stand against some otherworld's forces before they return to the planet. It's pretty much every sci-fi movie ever.
It literally is Seven Samurai in space.
Right. Or like Dune.
Yeah.
Like it's a lot of this reads a whole bunch like Dune. And so I could do without the whole this was a Star Wars movie and then they didn't want it, because honestly it makes me not want to care about it so much, I guess, because
so just don't.
I'm gonna watch it. Also the other thing, I'm sure like Zack Snyder has a weird dedicated crazy fan base, and I don't want to get like knifed or anything, but I don't love Zack Snyder. Justice League was bad. The Snyder Cut was a little less bad, right? Mm-hmm. But it was still bad.
Yeah.
I didn't like it, and it just there was a lot wrong with it. Fucking Joss Whedon didn't help the whole thing, and also like that that movie happened in the middle of a terrible family tragedy for Zack Snyder, which I certainly feel for and everything. Mm-hmm. And like I saw his zombie movie in Vegas, and it was funny. Like I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But I didn't love it. It's like everything he ever shoots, it's like he takes this jar of Vaseline and smears it on everything is so blurry. And like the extra Joker scenes he filmed for Jared Leto is a terrible Joker, by the way, for Justice League. It's like, wipe your fucking lens off. Like your lens is dirty. What the fuck, man? Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see it. We'll see how it goes. I think it's funny. The main character's name is Korra, like the Airbender spinoff, Legends of Korra. It's a good fantasy name, I guess.
Yeah.
All right. So let me get caught up real quick. I think there was another chat. No, there wasn't.
Okay.
I wanted there to be, but there was not.
So let's talk about Secret Invasion.
Yes. So spoiler alert. we're gonna do a non-spoiler thing. This came out yesterday.
Yes.
If you've not seen it yet, we're gonna spoil it. I don't want to ruin it for you. I don't want to be that guy. So if you've not seen it by the time this comes out, or if you're watching now, turn back and then come back with what you think in the comments. Tell us what your favorite parts were. Tell us what your crazy theory. Everyone's a Skrull. That's my current theory. Everyone, including I'm a Skrull, probably. I don't even fucking know I'm a Skrull. So tell us in the comments who you think is a Skrull, because it's probably everybody. Speaking
of people who are Skrulls, we open with Pagan, Beto, and another Skrull.
Beto O'Rourke?
Yeah, that guy.
Oh, yeah.
They're in, the Russian
Beto O'Rourke is a Skrull.
Nuclear plant.
You think Joe Biden's a Skrull?
No.
You think Trump's a Skrull?
Maybe.
He's way too stupid to be a Skrull.
Anyway.
Those guys, most of them are pretty smart.
Yeah. So Beto's like, you really think this is going to work? Like, we plant some bombs, we blow up some stuff, and chaos ensues. Pagan is like, okay, why the fuck are you here, dude? Like, why'd you join up? And Beto's like, I just want us to have a home. And Pagan's like, no. The reason you're here is the same reason I'm here, is that we have faith. We have faith in the future, and faith is built on risk. Mm-hmm. So we're going to go take a risk. We're going to blow some shit up.
Yeah.
So Pagan hands out some dossiers to everyone, to like little folders with pictures they can study. Gravik is walking around the Super Skrull chamber.
He's got these weird, dead, beady eyes.
Yeah.
They're just like, it's like, oh, God. That's probably where they cast him. Yeah. But he's just like, he's got this look about him.
So the rest of the council walks in. He's like, hey, my friends, welcome to the Super Skrull chamber. We just sent 3 people to go infiltrate the Royal Navy and shoot down the entire UN.
By the way, I like how they confirmed the thing you're about to confirm just in the first scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as we blow up the UN, that's going to, like, the Avengers are going to show up and everybody's going to go to war. It's going to be a huge mess. They have superpowers, but now we have superpowers. Congratulations. We're all Super Skrulls now.
Yeah. And they're like, I guess Super Skrulls is happening.
We're Super Skrulls. Yeah. Like, after we blow up the UN, the humanity is going to be at war within a week, and we'll use that and wipe out the entire human race.
Yes, guys, the human race is so close to catastrophe anyway. All we need is like a little flick.
Yeah.
It won't even be hard. We probably won't even need to be Super Skrulls, to be honest.
Yeah. So we have a flashback to New York in 1998. Mm-hmm. This is 3 years after Captain Marvel?
Yes.
So Nick Fury is walking along. He goes into a diner. It's late at night. He orders a coffee. There's a woman sitting in a booth.
He sings a little, hey, Mr. Postman.
A little bit, yeah.
Like in Captain Marvel.
Oh, yeah.
You don't remember that, do you?
I do.
Okay. We're going to play the video of that during the Battlefront stream.
He's doing the fucking singing with the disc scrubber.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. It's like my favorite part of that movie.
Yeah. So there's a woman in a booth saying, hey, you looking for someone? And Fury's like, well, that depends on what day of the week it is. She's like, well, you want to sit down and wait? And he's like, wait a minute. You're the Skrull I'm about to marry. She's like, I'd fucking right.
Who do you want me to look like when we fuck?
So she hands him a little like manila envelope with some intelligence to do something. He's like,
have they met before this, or is this like their first meet?
Because she was the one who brought Gravik to him when he was
right. Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So he's like, damn, that face is really pretty. She's like, I know it is.
Don't ever change that face unless I want you to.
You want to fuck? And Fury's like, well, you see, like, you're my subordinate and we're not supposed to fuck. And she's like, bitch, our unit doesn't exist. Like, I don't work for you. Let's just fuck. And he's like,
also, I'm an alien from space. Come on.
Yeah. Fury's like, you make an intriguing proposition. Let's fuck. So present day, Nick Fury is cooking breakfast while watching definitely not Tucker Carlson on definitely not Fox News.
Yeah. Or who is the guy that he reminds me of? It is very
Hannity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it's the. They're just all so fucking ugly. Yeah. I think that's what it is. Like Sean Hannity. I'm not trying to get political. There's this really funny video of him chewing out his staff in between segments, like during commercial breaks.
Mm-hmm. Are you sure this isn't Bill O'Reilly?
No. Because there are those too, and they're hilarious. Yeah. But it's Sean Hannity. Because they're all just terrible people. You'd have to be to do that job, right? And he's got this vape pen sticking out of his mouth, and I swear to God, he looks just like the Penguin. It's just insane.
Anyway.
Sean Hannity's probably a Skrull.
Yeah. So his wife walks in, and he's like, why the fuck are you watching not Fox News? Like, come on, we're black. We don't watch that. So they bicker and joke like the old married couple they are, and she's like, okay. So, like, it's kind of hard not to notice that you're on Earth after being in space for fuck knows how long. So what fresh disaster is going on? He's like, well, if you want an apology for me disappearing, just fucking ask for it and I'll give it to you. She's like, well, like, you're Nick Fury. Like, you have the most demanding job on the planet. I always knew you were going to be leaving, but like staying gone, that hurts.
Yeah.
Fury's like, I retired. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
She's like, well, what are you going to do with all your new free time? He's like, well, I could go golfing or I could get revenge.
Yeah. I love that fucking line. And he's like, he's like, I'm no good at golf or whatever, so I'll settle for revenge. Yeah. And I was like, that's going to go on a business card, I think.
He's like, by the way, have you talked to Gravik lately? And she's like, why are you asking me this? And he's like, oh, I need to know who you've become in the time I've been gone. She's like, I became who I was before I met you. Mm-hmm. Like, I was a widow after you got dusted. I cried every single night. And then you came back and then immediately fucked back off to space.
Yeah.
Like, I had to get by on my own.
Yeah. They make her sus throughout the whole episode.
A little bit, yeah.
And it just makes me like, Nick Fury, it's funny, the first 2 episodes of this show, everyone was telling Nick Fury, oh, you don't have it, you don't got it anymore, and you've gotten old or whatever. Mm-hmm. But like, it kind of seems like he immediately suspects her of being suspicious anyway. And I don't know, it just everyone's saying Nick Fury, you don't got it anymore, but like everything he does, you're like, oh, he still got it.
He's kind of got it. Yeah. So just as they're arguing here, her phone rings, and Nick Fury's like, well, don't mind me. Go ahead and pick that up. And she picks up and listens for a second. She says, I don't have that information at hand right now. Listens for another second, says goodbye.
Yeah. You might as well have been like, I can't speak freely right now.
Yeah. This is definitely suspicious.
Yeah.
So she's like, no, it's nothing important. She gives him a kiss and walks out. And Fury just kind of stands there looking at her phone for a second.
Which I thought it was weird that she left it there. Mm. I don't know. She feels like a red herring to me a little bit, right? But I was really waiting for instead of like hemming and hawing about looking at the phone, him just grabbing it and opening it because it's Nick Fury, and I feel like that's kind of what he would do.
I think anyone else's phone he would, but like that's his wife.
Yeah,
you gotta have some amount of trust in a relationship.
I like their relationship, and the actors have. I don't think you can be in a movie with Sam Jackson and not have chemistry because he's just so amazing. Yeah. I love how they act together on screen, and it's like it is no surprise to me that Nick Fury would marry someone in the biz, right? Mm-hmm. Not just some rando, normal person who doesn't know what he's doing or anything.
He's no Hawkeye.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, we know Laura was in S.H.I.E.L.D., so that's not necessarily true. Yeah.
Meanwhile, in Russia, Gravik kind of walks into Daenerys Targaryen's room and like shakes her awake. Just he's like, so I've been thinking about Brogan. Like, Brogan didn't know where the fuck we were going that night, and somebody tipped off the police about it. And Daenerys is like, well, obviously Brogan was fucking tortured. He told them everything he knew just to, get him to stop. Yeah. He must have, told them where that safe house was. And Gravik just kind of looks at her. He's like, is that what you do? She said, no, I would lie. I'm a really good liar.
Yeah.
And Gravik just kind of looks at her again. He's like, yeah, okay.
It's funny how like you can tell that
he does not trust her.
And I think in that second, she realizes it. Mm-hmm. Like you can see the wheel spinning. And you're like, oh man, I know where this is going.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if anyone ever makes a proclamation as to what kind of liar they are,
they're lying.
It's most certainly a lie. People who say they're not good liars are at least pathological liars, and the people who think they're really good at it are generally not.
Yeah. So he walks out and says, oh, by the way, we're going somewhere tomorrow. Get bright and early, get ready. And like there's a close up on Daenerys, and she's like really kind of uncomfortable. She's like, oh fuck. Mm-hmm. So they get off a plane in England and go driving through London to meet Talos. Gravik takes a phone call. He says, oh yes, the UN plane will be at Neptune's coordinates at 2200 hours. Yeah. Hey, Daenerys, did you hear this?
Yeah, I'm going to repeat that just so you understand what's happening.
The UN will be at the Neptune at 2200 hours.
Why aren't you writing this down?
So they park. Gravik goes in while Daenerys pulls out this shitty little burner phone, and she types out a text message saying, the Neptune and this flight number at 2200 hours. So Gravik meets Talos in an art gallery. And
this is a cool scene.
Yeah. So Gravik is admiring this big painting of the statesmen of World War I. Mm-hmm. And he kind of talks to Talos about, the statesmen, they get their pictures taken while, the soldiers were out in the blood and the mud dying. And he's like, if I had no choice between whether my story gets told in oil paint or blood, I'm taking blood every time. Mm-hmm. And Talos is like, oh, wow, you're such a big, brave man, picking that for literally everybody.
Yeah. I like that was Winston Churchill in the painting, right?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
He's such an unfortunate face, right?
Well, as he once said to a woman who told him he was drunk at a party, tomorrow, my dear, I will be sober and you will still be ugly.
Yeah. By the way, JDog82X says, Hi. What's up, dog? What's up? On with the show.
So they go down to the cafe in this art gallery and sit down, and the waitress brings them some espresso, and Gravik like dumps a shit ton of sugar in this, and Talos is like, why don't you just get an empty cup, you dickhead?
Yeah, it's like how I drink coffee. Yeah. I put a lot of yeah. So Talos is like, dude, can you just like stop murdering people for like 5 seconds? That's all I want. Just stop killing. It's starting to look bad.
Yeah.
You killing all these people.
Gravik's like, yes, interesting proposition. Counteroffer, I kill you right here and now. Yeah. Talos is like, dude, if you want to duel me, just fucking ask. I got a knife right here. We can do this in an alley. It'll take 5 minutes.
Yeah, he kind of referenced this weird like
honor code.
Yeah, like it's a part of their law before or something.
Mm-hmm. So Gravik is like, no, like, how's that gonna look? Like, I'm your general. How's it gonna look if I just duel some little subordinate? No, you're really fucking lucky I haven't killed your daughter and sent her to you in a body bag. And Talos is like, you do not talk about my daughter. Like, if you, I'm just saying, this is your one warning. Don't talk about my daughter.
My daughter's name out your motherfucking mouth.
Gravik's like, no, seriously, like, at least she's out in the car. Do you want to talk to her? And Talos like grabs him, lunges over the table, grabs him by the collar. And all of a sudden, everyone in the cafe
patrons,
stands up.
Waiters, yeah.
Everybody stands up and shapeshifts into Gravik.
Yeah.
Because they're all Skrulls.
What a fucking flex.
Yeah.
By the way.
And like Talos looks at this, just kind of sits down. And Gravik's like, yeah, okay, it's cool. You can all relax. We're done with that.
I think it would have been funny if they all would have just shifted into someone like Tucker Carlson. Just like a bunch of Tucker Carlsons and Talos being like, I'm gonna go.
Anyway, Talos is like, okay, so great, you're gonna start this war, you're gonna take our people to the very edge of extinction. Like that's your plan? Gravik is like, look, humans are shitty, violent thugs, and I'm like, all they know is violence, so I'm gonna give them violence. I'm gonna kill them all. Talos is like, dude, you are an absolute dumb fuck. If you give them a common enemy to unite against, the humans will team up and kick your ass.
Do you have any idea how fucking stubborn they are? Which is true, by the way. Yeah. Like, human beings, we persevere just out of stubbornness.
Sheer spite, mostly.
It really is.
Gravity's like, dude, we're shapeshifters. They won't even see us coming. Talos is like, yes, they will, because I'm going to tell everybody on the planet that you and your dumb fucks are trying to kill them.
I'm going to start a podcast. Yeah. So I'm going to tell everybody.
Gravik's like, okay, then. So, Daenerys stays with me. And Talos grabs a knife, stabs his hand as it's sitting on the table, goes around, starts choking him out, and says, all right, here's the deal. You are never going to mention my daughter again.
Oh, that's when he says it. Right. Yeah. Yeah, he tells him to keep her name out of his mouth. Yeah. And I had fucking flashbacks to Will Smith and Chris Rock and everything. By the way, this is a great, the acting and all, they have such a great cast for the show.
Ben Mendelsohn is so good. It's just this is the episode that convinced me Ben Mendelsohn is the best actor in the show.
If you're going to try to dial back on your budget for stuff and not have as much action and stuff, and you're going to do these things where just people in a room talking, have the people doing the talking being amazing.
Get really fucking good.
It's like they did that monologue with Luthen in Andor, right? And it's just him standing there talking for like 5 minutes, but the entire 5 minutes you're like it's perfectly engaged. Yeah.
So Talos walks out. And Gravik's
I love Ben Mendelsohn, by the way. I'm just saying, I'd probably hit that.
Yeah. Gravik like tugs his hand out from the knife and holds it up, and we can see it kind of glowing.
That's the part where John covered his face. He's like, "Oh God, no!"
It's kind of gnarly.
Right, because he has the extremis power, I think. Yeah. Because they can't, I don't think Skrulls can just do that.
No.
So I think he's kind of the first super Skrull, right?
Yeah. So outside, like Talos walks out of the gallery and an old man bumps into him and drops a phone. He's like, oh, no worries. It's my fault. Also, I think you dropped this. Here's this shitty burner phone. I think you dropped it.
Wink.
And, Talos, being the veteran spy he is, absolutely takes it. Thank you. And just walks away. The old man starts walking away. Gravik gets outside the gallery and happens to see this old man like go jogging across the street. But his view of the old man is kind of obstructed by a truck. Mm-hmm. And he goes and crosses the street. And by the time he gets there, there's Gaia standing by the car.
Yep.
Yeah.
Pretty suspicious.
Mm-hmm. So Talos is at an English pub eating breakfast when Nick Fury walks in, kind of looks over his shoulder and says, "Man, you're eating that shit? That looks gross."
Yeah. English bread. I don't like tomatoes. Mm-hmm. So when I watch someone eat like a whole tomato, I'm just like, whoa.
Yeah.
I like everything else. I fucking love eggs.
Talos is like, you got a lot of nerve to show up and ask me for help after what you said yesterday, dude.
They did have a pretty big bro fight.
Fury's like, I didn't ask for help. And Talos like, yeah, but you're about to. Fury's like, look, I have a lead on a Skrull high up in the U.S. government who's in London right now. Talos is like, okay, that's cool. What does this have to do with me? And Fury's like, what the fuck are you talking? Talos is like, look, you have a lead on this Skrull and you think that it's just understood that I'm going to leap to my feet and say, what can I do for you, Nick Fury? How can I help? No. Those days are gone. You are going to need to fucking ask for my help and say that you're useless without me. And Nick Fury looks at him.
He thinks about not doing it for quite a while.
And like he's about to walk out. And then he kind of like, you can visibly see him swallow his pride, turn around and say, help me, Talos Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Yeah. I think that might be the first time. I don't know. I'll have to go look at some of those older, like Captain or Winter Soldier and shit. Mm-hmm. That might be the first time he's ever apologized to someone.
Yeah.
Like tacitly apologized.
They lampshade this later. So in the car, Talos says, okay, so Daenerys gave me this burner phone and there's some intel on it. And Fury's like, great. The Neptune is a British sub. I know who to call. He calls up Sonya, the MI6 spy. Sonya's in her office in London.
I love this character so much.
Yeah. So Fury's like, hey, Sonya, what do you know about the Neptune? And Sonya's like, well, first you need to apologize for putting a little camera on Hoot.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, number one, I already hit my apology quota for today. Mm-hmm. Number two, that's an awful fucking name for an owl clock. She's like, well, good news. The owl's name is now Nicholas Fury.
Yeah.
He has this cool
she put a little patch on it.
Yeah, that's great. Fury's like, okay.
Who made that look professionally made?
Yeah.
Did that come out of like the MI6 budget?
Maybe.
Like they've got a guy in a basement somewhere with a sewing machine. She's like, I need a Nick Fury eye patch that will fit this fucking owl clock. And I need it before he calls.
Q knows the guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Fury's like, okay, but seriously, that sub is going to shoot down the entire UN and it'll start World War III. And can you fucking help me or not? She's like, well, why would anyone shoot down the entire UN? Fury's like, there's a Skrull in high command. So he's like, okay, look, I'm a little busy at the moment. Like someone leaked that I was at that butcher shop in Russia and I got to plug my own leaks. I don't have trouble. Tell you what, just go talk to Commodore Robert Fairbanks. He really hates it when you call him Bob. So don't call him Bob. Go talk to him about it. Here's his address. Get out of my sight. So Fury and Talos travel to Portsmouth, where British Naval High Command is, and like they're looking out the window. There's a person walking a dog, and Talos is like, "I don't really get the whole dogs thing. Like, what kind of interspecies relationship is built around you carrying someone else's poop?" And Nick Fury is like, "Well, I've been cleaning up your shit for 30 years." And Talos is like, "Oh no, hold up!
This whole conversation is fucking gold.
Hold the fucking phone. Is that what you think is happening? Because from my perspective, you are a nobody in a remote bumfuck shield field office doing nothing, getting nowhere. And then me and 19 of my closest friends started being your invisible spy network. And all of a sudden you were stopping terrorist threats. You were putting people behind bars. You were getting promoted. And every little bit of that was us.
Yeah.
Like we did that.
He makes a thing out of it too.
Yeah.
He's like this retort, like it's like fucking Barack Obama's speech where he gives an example we did that. And it's like over and over again. And it's just the funniest shit.
He's like, the thing is, I don't even need to thank you. I don't even need you to thank me. Just don't fucking rewrite history when I'm sitting here right next to you.
Yeah.
Also, you stopped. Why did you stop? Like, where are we? Nick is like, we're here.
Yeah.
That's Bob's house right fucking there. Are you going to bitch at me anymore? Or do you want to get out and do your job?
This reminds me, there's a really funny scene in Parks and Rec where Ron Swanson calls Leslie Knope into his office to talk to her, but she's high energy, crazy, and does this rap. And the whole office like gets in on it, and it's this whole production. And then she stops. She's like, "What did you want me to see? What did you want to see me for?" And he's like, "There's someone in the park on fire." Like that's what that reminded me of. Like just like going about this thing, and then like, can we please be adults now?
Tails like, yeah, all right. So he, transforms into Bob and goes walking on. He passes a couple of security guards. Like, yeah, I just had to get away from my wife for a second. Like for a second here, I thought the twist was going to be that Bob was gay.
Yeah. I guess
just because they kind of played that up a little bit.
Yeah. I just think it's funny how Nick Fury just keeps saying Bob over and over again. Like he just like, and he every time he says the word Bob, he says it ridiculously.
Bob.
Like, it's so fucking hilarious.
So he walks past another security. He's like, wait a minute, didn't I just see you upstairs? And Talos like, well, shit, and punches the guy out. They're going loud now. Nick Fury shoots a bunch of people. Talos sneaks in. He goes upstairs and walks past this room where there's a kid playing video games.
Yep.
And Nick Fury's inside. He says, all right, Talos, fucking report. And his earpiece comes back. Yeah. Sorry, Nick. I got a little tied up, but I'm upstairs, last door on your right. Just come on down. And Fury's like, all right, cool. Thanks, Talos. So the door opens and there's Nick Fury holding this kid at gunpoint. He's like, nobody calls me Nick, Bob.
Yeah, it's just, this is like, they established this in Captain Marvel, obviously, but who else in the MCU universe other than Nick Fury would hold a teenager with a gun to their head and just be like, and you believe him.
Yeah.
Like he will shoot that motherfucker.
So like Bob has Talos at gunpoint and he's like, okay, tell you what, let's be reasonable about this. You let my kid go and I'll let Talos go. And Fury's like, no, you fucking let him go first. And Bob's like, yeah, okay, fine. Tosses the gun on the floor. Nick Fury tosses the kid aside and they're like, all right, let's get some rope and fucking tie him up. They happen to look at the TV behind Bob, and Bob was watching, the UN flying towards this submarine.
There's a very helpful graphic.
Yep.
That's showing, yeah.
So on board the Neptune, the captain talks to the executive officer, who is Pagan in disguise. Like we know this because Pagan kept the picture for himself. He's like, dude, have you seen this fucking stupid order Central Command sent us? We're supposed to blow up the entire UN. And Pagan's like, well, it came from Central Command, so it's an order. So we got to do it.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Talos like has tied the kid's wrist together. He's like trying to offer him water. And kid's like, nah, I don't want it. Zachary, the kid, is like, are you going to kill Bob? And Talos is like, no, like we just need Bob to do the right thing. Like just don't start World War III.
Yeah.
That's all you got to do.
It's a very low bar to cross.
So back upstairs in the office, Fury's like, yeah, thanks for joining us, Talos. I can't get Bob to talk, so maybe I should just shoot him. Talos is like, no, mate, that's not necessary. Look, just Bob, help us out here and I can protect you against Gravik. And Bob is like, motherfucker, you couldn't even protect yourself. Yeah. How are you going to protect me?
I whooped your ass the second you came in here, which, by the way, a weird place to mention this, but I love the fact that Ben Mendelsohn is using his native Australian accent for this role.
Yeah.
I just, because like in Rogue One, he had the posh English thing or whatever the fucking accent he had. Yeah. I love his voice. Mm-hmm. I love Ben Mendelsohn.
Great actor.
Yeah.
Fury's like, well, come on, why don't you just turn into Bob and call off the strike? Talos is like, well, I don't know the fucking password. So this is the MacGuffin we need.
Is it password?
Bob is like, I refuse to comment.
Yeah.
Back on the submarine.
It definitely isn't something as stupid and easily predictable.
Certainly not. So on the Neptune, the captain is like, look, let's just call base and fucking talk about this. And Pagan is like, I mean, base fucking sent these orders. What the fuck do you want us to do about it? Just fucking do your job or I'll have you removed from command.
Okay, I'm a Skrull. Can we please do this? Jesus Christ.
So Bob tells Talos that, you and Gravik could have worked together. Like, Gravik was willing to work with you. And Talos is like, then work with me now.
Yeah.
Like Bob is like, no, it's too late.
Also, Gravik's a cunt. So
yeah. Fury is like, I have had enough of this bullshit, and just shoots Bob in the knee.
Yeah.
He's like, now are you going to give us the password or not? Talos is like, dude, just give me the gun. Let me talk to Bob. Back on the Neptune, Pagan is like geared up. He puts in his key, flips the switches.
They do the Hunt for Red October thing. And yeah.
And the captain is like really reluctantly getting his key off his necklace and stuff. Bob is like, Talos, you're a fucking traitor, and you're the reason the Skrulls don't have a home. You couldn't even keep your daughter. You couldn't even keep your daughter's loyalty. Or is she the traitor that's giving you information? Talos is like, that'd be really funny. And then he shoots him.
Yeah. Point blank fucking kills him.
Yep.
I think it's because he was like, oh shit. Yeah. Like if you know, yeah.
If he knows, then so he pulls out the burner phone, calls up Daenerys and says, look, I need Bob's code word. And
have you tried password?
Yes, we tried password. Yeah. It didn't work. So Daenerys like, fuck, I gotta go actually do things now. There's a scene where like some Skrull security worker like sees a communication going in and out.
Yeah, they know something's happening in the yeah.
So she goes down to the barn where they're keeping all the humans. So,
the fracking pods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She like beats up the guards and goes inside. On the Neptune, Pagan is all set to go. He's like completely ready to go. And the captain is like, this is a really dumb idea, but I guess I got to do it. Mm. Daenerys goes down to the real Bob and just scrolls through his memories real quick and then calls Talos and tells him, okay, the password is Zachary.
Oh, we were going to guess that second.
Like the name of his kid?
Yeah.
Yes, Zachary.
Yeah.
That's a dumbass password.
Yeah. That was our second guess. It's a good thing that this wasn't used for anything really serious, like aborting a nuclear strike.
Yeah. Talos is like, all right, good work.
It's because he's a boomer.
Get the fuck out of it.
That's something they pick for their password.
Yeah. So the Neptune is about to launch. They're like 2 seconds away. Then the abort comes in because Talos called Central Command and said, hey, I'm Bob, code Zachary. Don't do the genocide. Pagan like fucking lunges for the control console to try to do it anyway, but the captain manages to pull his key out, and that's the last we see of it. So Daenerys like sneaks out of the Skrull building, like she grabs a motorcycle and starts walking it away very slowly. So like Fury and Talos are loading Bob's corpse into the trunk, and Fury's like, Talos, why didn't you work with Gravik? Talos is like, mate, you've known me for 30 fucking years and you don't know the answer to this?
I love this.
I'm not with Gravik because I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
I love the two of them together. Yeah. I love their whole thing, their whole buddy cop thing. All of it's so fucking great.
Yeah. So Daenerys walks the motorcycle all the way up to the gate where she met Beto a couple episodes ago. She starts it out and peels off down the road. And then a pair of headlights turn on ahead of her and she's like startled and crashes.
No surprise to anyone. Yes. I mean, Gravik was clearly onto her earlier.
Gravik steps out of the car and says, hey, Daenerys, where the fuck you going? She's like, our operation just failed. I had to go, exfiltrate the dudes and get our Skrulls out of there. And Gravik's like, oh, no. Like, our mission didn't fail. Like, shooting down the UN would have been nice, but it was way more important that we found the traitor.
Yeah.
So he pulls out a gun and says, okay, turn around. She's like, no, you're going to look me in the eye when you shoot me.
Yeah.
And you're going to ask yourself, are you a leader of the Skrulls or are you the guy who's going to kill us all? And as soon as she finishes the last word, he shoots her.
Yep. Dead too. She reverts to her Skrull form.
She's dead.
Yeah. That's fuck, man. Like, I get it. Like, they probably can't afford Emilia Clarke for all of their episodes. So like killing her kind of makes sense. Yeah. Also makes me suddenly worried about Ben Mendelsohn.
Ooh, yeah.
Because he is probably pretty expensive too.
As soon as Talos figures out that this happened, like, dude, gloves come off.
Gravik said his daughter's name and he stabbed the man with a knife through the hand, right? Mm-hmm. So like, yes, he's going to go fucking insane. We do have to because
last thing. So Fury's wife gets a text message.
Oh, right.
She leaves the house. She like stops to grab a key. She's at the train station. She knows this sketchy looking guy kind of watching her.
Yeah, he's got a red scarf on.
Yep. She goes down to the bank and retrieves a safe deposit box. The only thing inside it is a gun.
Yeah,
like just a normal old handgun. She gets a phone call and the person on the other end says St. James Church, 1 hour. She's like, okay, I need to talk to Gravik right now. He's like, well, that's tough because you're talking to me. And then he hangs up.
You know whose voice it was?
I didn't recognize it.
It was Don Cheadle's voice.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure it's Don Cheadle's voice. That's who it sounded like to me.
That pretty much confirms.
Yeah, I haven't read that anywhere. I didn't. It's not like I saw it. It's not like the closed caption was like Don Cheadle's voice.
Yeah.
Right. But it sounded to me like Don Cheadle.
So. It also didn't have a Commonwealth accent, so because presumably it was a Skrull talking to her, right?
Yeah.
And they all have the British or Australian or some sort of accents.
Yeah. We'll do some research during our Battlefront stream, actually, which is going to be happening here in just a couple of minutes. So join us, please. Thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure you like the page, subscribe to us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and we'll see you later.